Hello, my name is Pleeps, and welcome back to Narrative Investigations. Tonight's case, and honestly the case for probably a long time to come, because this is going to be a long one, Last Defense Academy. A couple important things to note. First off, our goal with this one is to solve everything. The entire shebang. In order to do this, we'll be splitting these videos into two types of videos. Route overviews and character overviews.
Just to also make it clear, Pleeps isn't alone with this one. He's with me.
I was getting to that, but yes.
I know. Sorry, I got impatient.
Yeah, I get you. Yes, Neo is here. Now, if you're curious what our qualifications for talking about this game are, they're on screen right now.
Yeah, basically.
I'm showing our achievements, by the way.
Yeah.
For the record,
literally.
You're seeing a bunch of fancy smancy stuff. We're just seeing our Discord screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess let's get into
Our first theory?
No, we can't do that yet.
Oh?
In order to do theory crafting, we have to make core assumptions.
Yeah.
So, we have to get into our core assumptions. And the first core assumption, and the most important one, is about you, the audience watching. In order to come to the conclusions we've come to, we played everything. Got every ending, looked at every route, saw at least most of the Bond conversations. We technically haven't seen all of them, technically. But enough of them. But we need to make the assumption that at the very least we've seen a reasonable amount of every route. Maybe, like us, all the endings, but at the very least, the core of every route. Just, again, it is that is our first assumption. Our second assumption, and this one is essential, otherwise we will get nowhere. Unless otherwise stated, Takumi is a reliable narrator. This means that unless somewhere else in the game they tell us, no, that didn't happen, it happens.
So right now we are basically, in short, we're assuming Takumi is reliable.
Yes.
When it comes to
Now, the reason I make a point of saying, unless otherwise stated, is because there are a couple routes that outright tell us, no, for this route, Takumi was not a reliable narrator. And so, with that in mind, that is our two core assumptions about the audience and about the series. Now, how are we going to be handling this? We're going to be splitting this series into two. Every first weeks, I'll be calling it, we'll be doing route overviews where I talk about everything that a specific route made me come to in conclusions that they've driven me to. Every other week, we'll be doing character overviews because, well, we have a couple things we need to talk about, like the existence of Ima and Kako.
No, we'll get to it when we get to that.
Neil, I don't even think you know why I'm making such a big deal of their existence.
No, but I have opinions.
I'm sure you do. So, the one thing I promise is the route we'll be covering last is in these overviews that we're doing today, is SF. Otherwise, I picked the order based on what I think is the most important to understanding everything else. With that...
real quick, just real quick, if anyone who's listening or watching doesn't know what SF stands for, should we say it?
I mean, it's fine. Everyone watching this video, unless they've ignored several warnings, should have played every route. I mean, they should have seen through that route.
Anyways, the longer version of SF is Steady Fundamental.
Correct.
That is the last route we'll be covering.
Yes, but tonight one of the most important routes that I am going to talk about. This is the one I think is probably the most important to understanding everything else. And it is... naturally, the box of Retsnom Route.
The way you said that.
Yes, I know. I'm horrible. So, Neo, just
Yes.
to make sure that you and I are both on the same page, remind me what you know about the Retsnom Route.
What I know about the Retsnom Route is just the fact that it comes from the... I'm good to spoil it.
Yes. This is a spoilers are safe zone. I have established that twice.
So, okay. Anyway, what I know about it is that this whole route stems from saving the original Last Defense Academy instead of the second one.
Mm-hmm. In the spare 807.
And the real big thing that comes out of it is that Darumi is saved.
Yep.
But not everyone else at second to Last Defense Academy.
Correct.
Except for Nozomi.
Yep. 100%. Yep.
Because Takumi decided to be selfish.
Yeah. And, in order...
What comes out of that is that the guilt starts to pile up, and both him and Darumi, surprisingly, kind of start going through all these, like, books and stuff about the whatever to find a way to get them back.
Yep.
And then they stumble upon one about, you guessed it, Retsnom.
Yep. Which, fun fact, is monster backwards. Because I'll be honest, they love doing that in this game. Okay, so, and of course, they eventually find the Retsnom, and in the full path to the route, it takes over Darumi, and a bunch of weird questions kind of stem from that. So, before we even go, I'm going to state my thesis up front. Now, a lot of discussion, both in-game and online, seems to be about the assumption that, Crypto Glob must have come from the boxes of blessings. I don't believe that to be true. I believe the source of Crypto Globin is Retsnom.
Really?
Yep.
Honestly, I didn't even think about that.
Alright, so there are a couple reasons for this. Which one should I start with? You know what? Let's start with the obvious one. What are the powers that we see Crypto Globin do? Specifically in the commanders.
For commanders, they usually use Crypto Globin to kind of transform.
Yes, but when they get into those forms, what do they do with their powers? What is let's hear. Let's go through them one by one, if you don't mind. Give me just a moment. Okay. I'll be cutting this over here, actually. Yes. Correct.
Well, I know the first one's Mervin.
I know. That's not 100% important, but it will be in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can ignore Mervin because he doesn't do anything that special.
Yeah, he's just a dragon man.
But
when it comes to other commanders, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Some of them have specific advantages.
Let's start with Pakron, which is one of the first ones you fight, usually.
For Pakron, I know for a fact that her Crypto Globin kind of helps her, separate herself a little bit, so that it's not just one of her, it's three.
Interesting, isn't it? Is that not interesting? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Adamakyu is another one we can ignore.
Yeah.
His fight is more about stuff that it's not stuff that his Crypto Globin will let him do. Quenzele. Actually, yes. Let's start at Quenzele.
Quenzele is a baby maker.
Yes, and that is interesting. We'll get back to that in a second. Paramith. I'm trying to remember what Paramith. Oh yeah, Paramith. Yeah, Paramith's important.
Hypnosis.
Yeah. What'd you say?
Hypnosis.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the one.
We can ignore Ava. For now, we've established we're going to talk to her more later anyways. But
Yeah,
for
now,
this
Ava,
particular theory crafter, the thing that makes her fight special is stuff that we see actual machines doing, not her.
Yeah.
Zenta, what does she do?
Basically disguise.
Yes. But more than that, isn't it?
She can actually copy the person's
And what does she
voice,
get when she does
memories.
that? Yes, yes. Are you seeing what I'm putting down yet, or should I keep going? I'm gonna keep going anyways for the purpose of the video, but...
Yeah, keep going anyways.
Yeah.
But I can kind of start down.
Valagarza we can ignore, but we can't ignore Sanshin.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do?
Sanshin can absorb people and basically use them as a shield almost.
Yes. Combining with people. That's very interesting. Ryuga, we're gonna have to come back to later. Like, a lot later, I'll be honest. But we're gonna have to come back to later. Toritami.
If anyone's played the game, they know for a fact that they hate Toritami, I'm sure, because I do too. Which is, by the way, much like the other one with hypnosis. This one is too, but a little different.
Using sound and weird UI stuff.
And I hate it.
I'm going to be honest, I'm bringing Toritami up to annoy Neo. I'm not actually sure if Toritami is important to this theory. Because I don't tie it to the main thing. And then we can ignore Vestness, because her whole thing is just she's incredibly strong.
Yeah, yes.
But we will get back to that in a bit. Dalsha.
Dalsha probably has the strongest out of all of them, in my opinion. Because his whole thing is how much defense
Correct.
he has.
Correct. So,
He is the biggest tank out of all the commanders.
yep. Now, all of that said, I'm sure some of you already see the point I'm making, but let's take a look at what Darumi does as Retsnom. She is able to absorb a piece of Ato and recreate him, memories and all.
Which is similar to Zenta.
It's not just similar to Zenta, it's also similar to Zanshin. Yep. Yep. So, we got that. And also similar to where Quenzale.
Creating new forms.
Yep.
Really?
Although I should note, Zenta also does that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that their powers are the same is more my point, in fact. I have something else.
And what's that something else?
I hate that I'm doing this in Box of
Oh, no.
Blessings route.
Already skipping over to another route, aren't we?
Kind of. There is an important reason. In Box of Blessings route, weirdly enough, Dalsha has a line that makes absolutely no sense in the game and references back nothing. It stuck with me.
You must have the same devious cryptoglobe as that girl. What a link I see it manifest in another like this.
What was that line again? It's been a bit since I played.
Technically, I just played the line for the video, but for you, Neo, the line is something along the lines of, when you use the poison gas in that route, Dalsha will say, "You must have the same crypto goblin as that girl," or something like that.
That's interesting.
It is
I
interesting,
completely forgot about
which
that.
implies that there is a crypto goblin that we never see, because we don't see any that can actually do that, that can make that poison. What does Darumi do? What is one of the big things Darumi does as Retsnom?
Makes that poison.
Exactly. Now, so, there are all the mechanical reasons why why I believe Retsnom is actually the source of crypto gold. But there's more, because of course there's more. First off, something we do know. We know that the what we call the invaders, or the Futurans, were originally humans from Earth.
Mm-hmm.
We know that. So, with that in mind, what that tells us is at some point they got this strange power called crypto gold. And at that point they became genetically completely separate from humans. You know how that could have happened? Exactly what we see happen in the Darumi absorbs everyone ending.
Oh.
Like, we know she could recreate crypto golden powers.
Because she's done it with the other special defense unit members.
Correct. So, it stands to reason that another Retsnom could do the same. So, for whatever reason, it absorbs basically the entire population. And I bet you after the Retsnom infected individual naturally passed away, whether, as the lore tells us, by suicide or through some weird natural cause, we don't know if Retsnom is immortal or not, the Retsnom people probably had their blood get diluted so that the power was not as prevalent, but still very present. Hence why, naturally, it is very diluted. Hence why naturally it only occurs in a few select people. With no rhyme or reason, I might add. However, this also explains why Futuran clones have the blood very diluted, and why the blood can't be transfused into normal humans. Because it's not actually blood.
Because it's not actually blood.
It's not actually blood. Alright, so my final point before I get to my counterpoint to the boxes of blessings, which is a small counterpoint I'll add, but super important. The culture of the Futuran people. Now, I am aware that we are told another reason for the first thing I'm going to point out. So it's the least important, so I'll get out of the way. They don't eat meat. We are, however, I will confess, told on another route that apparently the Gyu's ability to infect people is apparently enhanced by eating meat. So, it might just be a precaution to that. We genuinely don't know. But, what is the other thing super important, or the other two things super important to Futuran culture?
One of them is their helmets.
Yep. Almost like they're meant to not show a lot of individuality. Which I think would make very much sense to have evolved from a culture that started as being absorbed by one giant entity called the Retsnom. And the second thing, they mention it a lot. Come on, you got this. They mention it so often.
Oh, they can't absorb others' cryptoglobin.
Yes. Now, in the Restsnom route,
they see it as forbidden.
Yeah.
And yes,
in the Restsnom route, Restsnom gives us her theory, but it is just that, her theory. I think it makes a lot more sense if it stems from, well, it genuinely being that, basically cannibalism, basically eating yourself. Now, here is my last point. My last 2 points. We'll start with this one. Where do we find Retsnom?
we only find Retsnom thanks to like an old man.
Again, where do we find it?
I mean, I'm sorry. What do you mean by where?
The exact location it is. It's a shrine, right?
Mm-hmm. Like in a shrine in like a little bag.
So, I believe that explains that. Now, I need to counter something. Why do I not think Retsnom, or rather, Cryptoglobin is caused by the Boxes of Blessings? I have two reasons for that. Reason one, Cryptoglobin seems to be super tied to Futurum. Like, to an extreme degree. As far as I can tell, the Boxes of Blessing are not. And the reason I say this is, the boxes have moons on them. I mean, they couldn't have come from Futurum, because Futurum, fun fact, doesn't actually have a moon.
The only thing that reflects as a moon is the artificial satellite.
And that wasn't there the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So the Boxes of Blessings must have come from Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, the designs of the Boxes of Blessings are tied to the Boxes of Calamity, which you need to point out contain the Gi, which very much don't come from Futurum. Oh, we will be getting to that too, don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
But, right. So, there is that. But there's also the way the Boxes of Blessings work. Which again, obviously we will be talking more about this in the Boxes of Blessing Route video. But, specifically, it seems to be very literal and very exact with the way it grants wishes. If you wish for X, it'll give you X. I cannot imagine someone going up to the Boxes of Blessings, opening them all and saying, I wished a bunch of people had this exact specific power that worked in this exact unpredictable way.
Yeah. It would be a little weird for someone to do that, but also why would they do that?
Exactly. Now, we will talk about some of the reasons why all this happened at some point in the future. But before I leave it off to the comments, Neo, any immediate thoughts on my theory?
Honestly, I never really thought about where Cryptoglobin even came from in the first place, because I mostly just thought of it as blood. Yeah. That's all I really thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole theory about Retsnom being the whole reason Cryptoglobin is a thing kind of makes me interested.
Then I'm glad. Don't worry, we got a ton more to go.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this video, leave it a like. If you want to see more in me and Neo, we are half of a group called the Wednesday Crew.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 2 channels and many, 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 many playlists. Well, some of them playlists. Filled with stuff we did, which are linked in the description.
Yep.
So, absolutely check that out. We are working on a pretty major video in our Wednesday Crew podcast series. But I don't know where that's going to come out because, I'll be honest, this is my priority. But if I find time, I will get working and finish that up. And we do 1,000 other things. Absolutely go check it out. We would love it. But we are going to try, and I do mean try, we might get some slips and stuff, to release some new theory videos every week. And presuming we can succeed in that, you should join us next week for the big guns. We're going to start the character analysis. And I'll just warn you ahead of time, if you care to watch those videos, if you like all of the characters in this game, you're going to feel like shit watching those theories. I don't have good news for you for them, or any of them. I hate that, but, well, I I guess it depends on how you look at it. Glass half full, glass half empty. But I won't leave you guys wondering too much more. Please.
He'll just have to see for next time.
All of that being said, more importantly than any of that,
At ease, soldiers. It's time to hit the hay. You never know when the invaders might attack, so rest up while you still can. Well then, good night.